Breaking news. The Las Vegas Raiders are in trouble, and the spotlight is shining directly on their running game. Over the last 2 weeks, explosive runs have been nearly impossible to come by, and the frustration is building. Fans, analysts, and even players are starting to ask tough questions. What exactly is going wrong? But before we dive deeper into the latest news and film breakdown, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and don't forget to press the bell icon so you never miss the biggest NFL updates. Now, let's move on to the story. The struggles began against the Patriots, where some blamed the rainy weather for the lack of rhythm. But when the Raiders faced the Chargers under clear skies, the problem didn't disappear, it got worse. The running game continued to stall, raising serious concerns. Ashton Gentry has been at the center of the conversation. Many believe he needs more touches to find his rhythm, yet his usage has been capped around 10 to 11 carries per game. That's the plan the coaching staff put in place, and they've stuck with it. The question is, has that plan backfired? Even when Gentry does get the ball, big plays are rare. He had one standout moment on an outside zone run that broke for 13 yards, thanks to pure determination and breaking a tackle. But those flashes are too few and far between. More often than not, defenders are crashing down, filling lanes, and the offensive line isn't creating the push needed for success. Another issue? Scheme fit. Gentry was at his best in college running inside zone concepts, quick-hitting plays that allowed him to use his burst and vision. The Raiders, however, are leaning heavily on outside zone, which develops slower and demands a different style of patience and read progression. That mismatch might be one of the biggest reasons why the ground game has stalled. The Raiders need answers fast, because without a spark in the run game, their offense risks becoming predictable, and in the NFL, predictability almost always leads to losses. Inside zone runs are supposed to be quick, decisive, and efficient, and that's exactly why Ashton Gentry thrived at Boise State. But here's the problem: against the Chargers, the Raiders only called it once. And when they finally did, it fell apart. Gentry went the wrong way. The play was designed to hit left, but he cut to the right, and the chance was gone. The bigger issue, though, isn't just Gentry's read. It's the offensive line. Time after time, defenders are slipping through untouched. Linebackers crashing downhill, defensive linemen squeezing gaps, and the blockers in front of Gentry look out of sync. Plays designed to go left are breaking down before they even start, and Gentry is forced to bounce runs outside with nowhere to go. Take Alex Kappa as an example. Back in the lineup after missing training camp, he looks uncertain in assignments. On one play, he whiffs on the inside linebacker, forcing Gentry to make a move in the backfield. And credit to Gentry, he actually made that defender miss. But then, the next block on the perimeter wasn't sealed, and what could have been a touchdown was stopped in its tracks. And this isn't just one guy. Jakobi Meyers missed a block on the edge. Dante Thornton missed his man. Tight ends, guards, even centers, mistakes are piling up everywhere. And in zone schemes, the smallest lapse destroys the whole play. Here's the cold reality: the Raiders' interior offensive line is simply not creating push. They're not moving defenders off their spots, and without that movement, the run game dies at the line of scrimmage. Compare that to last season, when Jackson Powers-Johnson stepped in at center midway through the year. Suddenly, the line had power up the middle. Suddenly, running backs were finding daylight. By the end of the season, guys like Sincere McCormick were ripping off 5, 6, even 7 yards per carry. The difference wasn't just talent, it was toughness in the trenches. And right now, that toughness is missing. When Jackson Powers-Johnson lines up at center, everything changes. Instead of getting stood up at the line, defenders are actually being driven out of their gaps. He creates movement at the point of attack, and that push gives the guard space to climb to the next level. That's exactly what the Raiders are missing right now: lanes that actually open instead of collapsing before the back even gets there. So here's the truth: the zone runs aren't working. They're slow to develop, they demand precision, and with this current line, they're collapsing too quickly. The Raiders need to shift their identity. Scrap the heavy reliance on zone and lean into power football. Power schemes are simpler, more direct, and don't always require linemen to move defenders 3 yards downfield. Instead, they rely on angles, double teams, and kick-out blocks to carve a path. We've already seen glimpses of it working. On one play against the Chargers, Colton Miller pulled out in front and sprung a solid gain. On another, the guard looped around, creating a crease that went for 10 yards. These are the kinds of plays that fit this line better. Unlike zone, where every missed assignment dooms the run, power plays can survive small mistakes. All it takes is linemen sealing off angles and letting the pulling blockers create lanes. The job is clearer. The execution is cleaner. And for a line that's struggling with strength and consistency, that could be the formula to spark the ground game. But let's be real, the Raiders can't stop there. Long-term, this offensive line needs a shakeup. Jackson Powers Johnson belongs at center. He's the only one who consistently brings push up the middle. Dylan Parham might have flaws in pass protection, but he's still their most dependable interior lineman. Alex Kappa has had rough patches, but at least he's serviceable. The odd man out is Jordan Meredith, who just doesn't bring the power or anchor you need in the middle. If the Raiders want their offense to find balance, it starts with 2 things: calling the right schemes and trusting the right players. Right now, both need to change. I've been saying this for weeks, the Raiders' offensive line needs a shakeup, and it starts with Jackson Powers Johnson at center. He's the one lineman who consistently moves defenders off their spots. With him in the middle, running lanes open, and the entire offense looks sharper. But the adjustments can't stop there. The left guard spot has been a problem, and that's where a change could make a real difference. Sliding Charles Grant inside makes sense. At guard, he doesn't have to worry about being left on an island in space. Instead, he can use his length, quickness, and raw power to win at the point of attack. He's shown flashes of it already, cutting defenders off, driving players backward, and bringing a physical edge this line desperately needs. Imagine a lineup with Powers Johnson anchoring the middle, Grant bringing toughness at guard, and either Parham or Kappa filling the other spot. That combination finally gives the Raiders a foundation up front. It means zone runs might actually have a chance. It means inside lanes start opening. And most importantly, it means this offense can begin leaning on the run instead of abandoning it. For too long, the Raiders have been predictable, one-dimensional, and easy to read. Fixing the offensive line won't solve every problem overnight, but it's the first real step toward balance. And if the Raiders make these changes now, they could unlock an entirely new level of production that we haven't seen yet this season. The Brock Bowers situation has raised real questions inside Raider Nation. The team presented him as healthy, but his performance told a different story. The truth is, he hasn't looked like himself, and that could mean his injury was more serious than initially revealed. For a team already battling to find offensive rhythm, that's a major concern. Looking ahead, the focus shifts to the Commanders' matchup. Washington's quarterback situation could play directly into the Raiders' favor. Jayden Daniels is dealing with a knee sprain that's the same type of injury Lamar Jackson suffered in 2022. For Lamar, that injury ended his season. For Daniels, even if this version is less severe, playing through it is risky. If he lands wrong or aggravates it, Washington could lose him long-term. That raises the possibility that the Raiders may see Marcus Mariota under center instead, a matchup that makes life much easier for the silver and black. But the Commanders won't roll over. Their defensive front remains one of the toughest in football. With Daron Payne and John Newton already anchoring the line, Washington just added veteran pass rusher Preston Smith to the mix. For the Raiders' offensive line, already under scrutiny, this is a huge test. Winning in the trenches will be the difference between keeping the offense alive or stalling out once again. And then there's the Tom Brady noise. Some outsiders have questioned whether his involvement with the Raiders gives them an unfair advantage. But according to team officials, Brady isn't part of game planning and has no influence on the team's weekly preparation. The focus, as it should be, remains on the players and coaches on the field. For the Raiders, the path forward is clear: clean up the offensive line, get Bowers back to full strength, and take advantage of a wounded Commanders team. If they can do that, this could be the turning point in a season that desperately needs momentum. The Tom Brady storyline continues to swirl around the Raiders, and it's raising eyebrows across the league. Some critics believe Brady's dual role, as both a minority owner of the Raiders and a broadcaster, creates a conflict of interest. The concern is simple: does he gain access to inside information that could tilt the playing field in Las Vegas's favor? Here's what we know. Brady has been present during some games, and that alone has fueled speculation. The NFL has already acknowledged that his situation is unique, but team officials insist that he's not part of game planning or preparation. Still, the perception lingers, and in today's league, perception matters. The Raiders can't afford even the hint of impropriety, especially with how harsh the NFL has been in punishing teams for violations in the past. For Raider Nation, the bottom line is this: the focus must stay on the field. The talk surrounding Brady is a distraction, and the last thing this team needs is drama off the field while trying to fix real problems on it. The offensive line needs answers, the run game needs life, and the defense has to prepare for a Commanders squad that still has talent even if their starting quarterback doesn't play. At the end of the day, speculation about Brady is just noise. What matters is how the Raiders respond on Sunday, and whether they can finally take a step toward consistency in a season that has been anything but predictable.